Hello and welcome to this week's edition of On the Couch. I'm Jermaine Sullivan.
And I'm Emily DiPadova. Joining us today is the founder of Rowan Cycling Club, Quinn McHugh, and the president, James Craig. Thanks so much for being here with us, guys.
Thank you
for having us.
Very curious.
So how long have you guys been cycling?
So I've personally been cycling probably ever since I was a little kid. I was always an avid cyclist in middle school, high school, and now in college. I really got into it when I was like a litter patroller and picking up recycling and trash on the thing. I used to commute to my first job as a kid, and got an adult bike, and the rest is history.
Okay. Go ahead.
I started when I was a kid also. I grew up in a beach town, so there was a boardwalk there, and we'd always ride our bikes there. And then I also had to start riding to school on my bike in middle school when they got rid of buses. So since then, I've been riding almost every day.
See, personally for me, I started a little bit later because every time that my brother would go out and he would just be like riding his bike and learning and then like training like that, I was inside playing video games. So funny enough, it took me till like 5th grade to get started. Yeah.
So was there ever like a specific point where you're like, I know I want to do this more than like just for fun, riding on the boardwalk or picking up trash or anything like that?
Yeah, I would say yeah. I kind of, it hit me when I first I was commuting to my first job, and my old kid's bike was way too small for me, as I'm sure many of you can relate. And I went to the cycle shop, decided I wanted just an adult bike, a bike that actually fit me. And just going on like the local cycle path and just like having the freedom to just, go around town, the wind in your face, sun in your eyes. It's an exhilarating feeling for me.
Was it hard to transition from training wheels to just the bicycle itself?
I think if I recall correctly, I was a pretty late bloomer for that.
Okay.
I was on
Same.
training wheels for like a long time. I was actually like terrified of, cycling in the first place.
Right.
But once you get over that fear, it's not bad at all.
Pretty much the summer after my senior year of high school, I started riding my bike around town to go to the beach, to go to work. And I started really getting into it. I got a new bike, and that helped a lot because I could actually ride faster than 2 miles an hour. So that's what really got me into it. And then I just became more interested in it when I got to Rowan with all the bike trails nearby.
Okay. How long are the bike trails at Rowan, roughly?
There's one off of Delsea Drive that's about 6 miles long.
Okay.
Wow.
And there are others, but they're 2 to 3 miles away.
Okay. Do you all do it as a group, or do you just do individually when you cycle?
Yeah, for me, I tend to have a busy schedule, so I really do it whenever I can. Around here, there's just miles and miles of countryside roads, so really you can just go any way that way and, get a good ride out of it.
Right.
So,
go ahead. Go ahead.
so how does the club work? Is it a group thing? Is it more individual? I know you said you don't have a lot of time, but the club as a whole, what do you guys do?
As a whole, the club is mostly to get anyone that has an interest in biking, whether it's just riding a class or being an avid rider where you ride 60 miles at one time. It's just getting everyone together so that we can create a better biking community throughout the campus.
Now, did you say 60 miles at one time?
Some people do that, yeah.
60 miles?
Yeah, I have one friend who's like, he's a very serious cyclist. He'll be like, oh yeah, I did 50 miles the other day. 22 mile an hour average, and I'm like here like huffing and puffing at 15 mile an hour.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he's an animal.
Their quads must be like barrels
Yeah,
or
he's gotta be
something.
fit.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh. So, what do you do to not get tired as much when you bike for that long?
I would say a lot of water.
Okay.
It helps. I know a lot of like people don't really relate to like wearing the Lyrica and like all those tight-fitting shorts and all.
Okay.
But that reduces a hell of a lot of drag. And just when you're on the saddle for like 20 miles, 30 miles, 40 miles, and you don't have that sort of athletic gear on, biking in jeans is no fun experience.
Right. Now you mentioned Lyrica. What exactly is that?
It's like any sort of cycling jersey.
Okay.
It's like kind of the formal term for it. It's kind of tight-fitting. Think of it as like yoga pants.
Right. Yeah. Makes sense.
So what's the longest that you each individually have cycled?
Oh man, in one city?
Yes, in one city.
For me, it's actually not that high. It was probably 30 miles.
So
I think that's pretty,
I think it's
pretty
pretty
high.
high. Pretty
Compared
high.
to
Yeah.
some people who go,
Definitely.
some people even go 150 at one time. It's crazy.
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So my cousin is actually very into cycling, and we had this pretty epic ride to went from Bergen County all the way to High Point State Park, and that ended up being 112.5 miles.
What?
It was an all-day affair, but yeah, it was pretty epic.
112 both ways?
Oh no, there and back.
Oh my gosh.
So in total.
I was gonna be like, whoa.
Yeah, not that.
Wow.
crazy, but yeah, it's pretty.
So when you're biking, like when I was like a kid, I always like stood up on the bike, like always standing and then biking like that, because I
Yeah.
found that I went faster. But every time like I'm watching like bike shows like Tour de France or something like that, they're always like sitting and they're like hunched over like that, and they seem to be going so fast. Is there a science behind that?
Yes, in a way. Even though standing up gives you more leverage, it also increases the amount of drag you have and air resistance. So when they hunch over, it creates less air resistance so they can move faster.
Okay. Absolutely.
Now, does that, being in that position for that long, does that put strain on like the back and everything? Like, is that really hard, or does it just become easy over time with practice? And
Yeah, I mean, I'm no Tour de France rider, but I imagine they're very used to that sort of position because, you know, when you're competing at that level, it's like any little bit of drag, it's gonna, you know, over 60 miles and for, you know, weeks on end is gonna really detract from your racing performance.
Right. So when you're riding, I know some bikes are like heavier than others. How can a bike, honestly, like that you can lift up with one finger, how can like a human body like be on that bike and the bike support it? How does that even work?
So probably one of the frames is carbon fiber.
Okay.
Carbon fiber is a very, very light material, but it's extremely stiff. It's comparable to steel in terms of strength. So, you know, those bikes that you see, you know, you can lift a finger with are probably made of carbon fiber. There's also steel, which is kind of, you know, it's much more robust, but it's a lot heavier than carbon fiber. There's also aluminum. I'm trying to think, like titanium bikes, but really carbon fiber is the best in terms of strength versus weight. Yeah, that's kind of the standard for like race bikes.
now, I know that you, other than the bike, there's also some extra equipment that you guys use. Does that cost add up, or is there ways that you're able to, you know, not break the bank if you want to cycle?
It does add up over time. It's not a cheap sport to get into. That's pretty much the main thing that the main thing that deters people from biking actively is the cost of it. But after you get over that hump and keep going with it and start to enjoy it, then it ends up being worth it.
Yeah, I mean, I've personally never come back from a bike ride and said, I regret that.
Yeah.
Even if it's like, you know, pouring rain and wind and cold, it's just so exhilarating. And I think, you know, even though it does get expensive at times, I think it's a hobby I love. It's like, you know, spending, you know, on video games, for example.
Okay,
if you love it.
makes sense.
All right.
Hobby.
Well, sit tight, you two, because when we come back, Jermaine and I are going to get an in-depth look at some of the equipment needed for cycling. So don't go away. All right.
Hey, it's Ava, and this is Tess from Vivo's Do It Yourselfie, where we recreate the hottest looks from today's biggest music videos.
After cleaning out our closet, we have a lot of clothes we don't wear anymore.
Like this old t-shirt.
It's not garbage, it's actually a brand new rug.
And to make it, all you need to do is cut, tie, and glue.
Cut the t-shirt into strips.
Tie the strips into knots.
And glue the knots to the bath mat. I love it. Give your garbage another life.
And recycle. Which planet are we living on?
What do you think it would be like to teach? Chances are, you have no idea. Teachers today are breaking down obstacles, finding innovative ways to instill old lessons, proving that greatness can be found in everyday places, and that you don't need to be famous to be unforgettable. That's what it's like to teach.
This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Remember that to love America is to love all Americans, because love has no labels.
There's one thing you can never have sex without.
It's consent.
Because sex without it isn't sex.
It's rape.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Cinderella found the pet that fits her perfectly, and you can.
I already did that. So do you want to open with this one, Emily?
Welcome back to On the Couch. So we have 2 bicycles here. If you guys want to go into it, show us what each thing is, you know.
Yeah, so this is my bike. It's called a All-City Space Horse. Don't ask me how they named that, but it's a, what do you call a commuting touring bike, racing bike. It's mainly meant for road, gravel, that sort of thing, not necessarily off-road. This is actually kind of my touring bike. I do multi-day trips, kind of like backpacking, but with your bike on it. Just have a little saddlebag here, with all my tools, 3 water bottle cages, which to store water, light handlebar bag for any sort of materials. I have a little radio that I like to listen to the radio or music on.
It's handy.
And yeah.
Yeah, especially the 3 water. If you're biking for a few days, you're going to need a lot of water.
Yeah, yeah.
So what about your bike?
This is a Jamis Durango. It's a mountain bike, so it's good for any terrain, kind of, except for any terrain, really. It has, unlike his bike, it has suspension at the front to help with drops if you go off a rock or anything like that. This is just something to carry things on the back. Not really special. I have 1 water bottle cage, and that's about it.
So now I noticed that your bike looks much smaller as far as like width and everything, like the tires and everything.
Yeah.
So is one better than the other? Why? Or do they work the same essentially? How does?
Yeah, so so you can see my tires are a lot thinner, though they too still have a little bit of width to them. But I can run a lot higher tire pressures. Something like 60 psi, 70 psi, pounds per inch. And that allows me to just go a lot faster on the road. There's a lot less rolling resistance. Whereas James's bike, it has like knobby tires, and he can only run like maximum 60 psi. So it's a lot slower on the road.
Oh, see, that's weird. I would have thought that the thicker tires like that would have been better for going faster and everything, because you just demolish everything in your path.
I mean, they are better for grip, but the pressure is what makes the difference.
Yeah, you'll find his ride is a lot more cushier than this because it's a rigid frame, and just the tires are a lot more wide.
Now yours is a lot higher than like it's really high up. So is that more comfortable or more ideal for riding, or is that just personal preference for you guys?
That's just personal for me. I've had other bikes that were only an inch or 2 shorter, and they were too short for me.
Yeah, so you notice this is probably a lot bigger than your bikes you see on campus.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people, you see them riding, bikes that they had as kids, which don't actually necessarily fit them.
Right.
So when you're riding for a long period of time, it's just, if you're riding a bike that doesn't actually fit you, you're gonna have problems with your legs or back or whatnot. So this is actually my size, believe it or not.
So you mentioned this toolkit right here. What type of tools are in there?
Yeah, so if I open this up, so there's things like Allen keys, anything to adjust the bolts on the bike.
Okay.
I have, yeah, I just have an extra tube in case I get a flat during a ride. These are called tire levers, basically little tools you use to take off the tires in the event of a flat.
Okay.
This is something you actually use to take off the chain if you need to. Kind of rare, but still nice to have.
Very
and that's
handy.
the Allen key set.
Allen keys.
Okay. Cool.
Thanks.
Now I also see this little thing right here.
Yeah, I was just about to ask about that. What is that for?
Oh yeah, so this is a little, I guess you could call it a, wireless. Basically, just tracks your miles. It's helpful if you have like a cue sheet. Let's say you're going on like a very far ride that has a bunch of like turn-by-turn directions. What you can use this to do is basically determine the amount of distance you've gone, so that you know when a turn is coming up.
Okay.
Much similar to like a GPS in a car. It's like a low-tech sort of GPS.
It's nice. I've never seen that on a bicycle before.
Yeah, it's handy to have.
Now, is there anything else other than what you guys have here? Any other equipment that you guys use?
If you want to
Explain what it is.
We do have.
Yeah, I'll hold this. Yep.
Thank you.
I'll be the guardian of the bike.
We'll be right back.
Thank you.
All right.
We do have a cycling toolkit, which is available to anyone in the club, essentially. You just contact us and we'll let you borrow it. And it has a bunch of different tools in it.
I can hold it if you, I can. Well, I can hold the bike if you wanna.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah.
You guys can just swap positions if you want
Yep.
to come around here.
And don't want it to spill.
Okay.
It has a bunch of different tools that are just for any kind of problem with a bike. Sorry.
No, you're good.
A bunch of different wrenches and screwdrivers and tire levers, and it just makes it easier to fix it without having to spend a bunch of money at a bike shop.
Yeah, it's really cool that you guys have that.
Yeah.
So it seems that it's pretty minimal in the equipment necessarily needed compared to some other sports or anything like that, which is nice.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these tools are, last you a lifetime. So I know a lot of sports, it's kind of like a reoccurring expense. With bikes, it's kind of, if you get a good quality tool, you're set for life.
So it's expensive in the beginning, and then once you sort of buy the bulk of it, like the bike and the few little extras, you're pretty much set.
Yeah, pretty much.
How long have you guys had these bikes?
So I've had this one for the past 2 years or so. I actually got it off of Craigslist. I'm kind of a big proponent of, buying used bikes, and it was beautiful when I got it, and it served me well.
Okay. And what about you,
And
James?
this bike I actually got in September at the Caffeinated Cyclist in Pittman, and it's only been hit by a car once so far. So that's
Only
good
once.
news.
Oh my god.
Only one.
Hopefully not while you were writing it.
Yeah.
Oh my,
Oh my
god.
gosh.
But it happens.
Yeah. Well,
So is that a common occurrence? People getting injured while riding, or is it something?
It's not very common, but it's more common at Rowan than in other areas because
oh my goodness.
a few people are a little distracted when driving or walking across the street.
That's a little unsettling.
Yeah.
It's very unsettling.
But thank you guys so much for joining us. I've loved learning about it.
Yeah, thank you.
If anyone wants to ride a bike, these are the guys you hit up for that.
Do you have any socials like social media for the bike club?
Yes, we do. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
Okay, and what's that on Instagram?
On Instagram, it's Rowan Cycling.
Okay.
And then
Yeah, just Rowan Cycling across Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and then you can contact us on rowancycling@gmail.com if you're interested in working together.
Okay.
There you have it,
Yeah,
guys.
thank you for coming, Quinn and James. Next up, we have Danny Menshaw and Victoria Todorovas in this week's Word on the Street, so don't go away.
I see it!
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org.
Hey, did you know that 2.4 million loving cats and dogs in shelters and rescues need our help to find a home? Go to theshelterpetproject.org and search your local shelters and rescues. Go for a cuddle with your next best friend. Adopt.
Look at you. You're at the top of your game. You're unstoppable. Nothing can throw you off track. Wait, is that your car? Uh-oh. Yeah, I saw that coming. That will throw you off track. You're looking at around 10 grand in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Let's try this again. Smart move. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Open up your books to page 360.
Did you just look at your phone while you was in class? You played yourself.
Talking about inspirational quotes.
You gotta believe in yourself. Don't ever play yourself. The key is to make it, so make it.
Louise, can you give me an example of an inspirational quote?
Don't play yourself. The key is to make it.
And who said that?
I did. Now that's a major key alert.
Learn the real major keys to getting to college at GetSchool.com.
Hey, we're here at CBS Philly.
And also the CW, Philly 57.
Let's go get a tour.
We're gonna go do a tour. Come along. You probably can't air this, but you know what? It's okay. It's fair use.
It's behind the scenes.
It's behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes.
Bye.
Bye.
What was that? I don't know.
Hey guys, we're on the couch, but not on our couch, on CBS's couch.
Oh, imagine that.
Wow.
We're branching out. This is going to be our permanent new
And look,
home.
we kind of look good.
All of our videos will take place here, and we kind of look decent for once. Look, everything got this purple thing going on. Yes. I gotta do like this.
It's looking great.
It's
so
looking
follow
great.
us all.
Yeah, follow us. We're
This
gonna
is
do
the
a
green
little
studio.
tour.
We have some chairs here.
People like to sit here when the studio shows
A couple
happen.
TVs, 1, 2, 3.
There's some green screen stuff going on. You know, if you want to put yourself on top of a volcano or something, you could do that.
We could do the weather today.
We could do the let's go do the weather.
Do the weather.
In fact, does any Rowan show do the weather?
So today's weather is very green.
Yeah.
And
you better believe that's, bring an umbrella for that one. Yeah. Ooh. And a jacket, because it's going to be a cold one. It's springtime, but it's still cold. It's Philly for you.
And that's Nate.
And that's the rest of on the couch right here.
Oh, there's right here. Right over here. And there's cameras. CBS 3. We're live next week.
See that bridge right there? That's the Benjamin Franklin Bridge. I've driven across it many times, whether by car or train. I highly recommend it.
You
if
never
you're going
walk?
See, my legs don't work like they used to.
You guys, we gotta go. Sorry.
Oh, sorry about that.
I'll be back in a little bit.
And that's all for this week.
This week, yes. We just did a tour of CBS, and now we're starving because they didn't feed us over there. Not their problem. I should have came prepared. They don't have to feed us. But we're going to get the best cheesesteaks in Philadelphia, which is Geno's.
Ew.
Oh, I'm sorry. Pat's. Jim's. What's the best?
What do you get and where?
Yeah, what's the best cheesesteak place in Philly? You know what? That'll be our next episode. We'll come back out here. Stay tuned.
See you next week.
We'll do the great cheesesteak debate. See you soon.
See you next week.
Welcome back to On the Couch.
So instead of the Tour de France, it's the tour of CBS that Vicky and Danny were on.
Yes, I was actually there for that tour. It was awesome. It was super insightful. So it's really cool that everybody got, a little behind the scenes, even if they weren't able to be there themselves.
Right, absolutely. Some motivation for everybody.
Yes. So now we're going to dive right into our hot topics for this week.
Okay, so first up we have Woodstock. The lineup just got released. For those unfamiliar, Woodstock is a big music festival that encompasses different bands, and it originally started in 1969 with some names like The Who, who else? Jimi Hendrix, Grateful Dead, Santana, different things like that, and they're coming back. Surprisingly, after their 1999 disaster, they said 20 years later, we're going to do it again. So.
Now, who do they have
this year?
Yeah, who's the lineup?
Okay, so they have names like the Black Keys, Jay-Z, Chance the Rapper, Cage the Elephant, Miley Cyrus. How can you forget Hannah Montana? So, yeah, definitely. That's going to be in August. So be sure to get your tickets if you haven't already.
That's definitely some big names. It's something that it seems like a good mix. So
Yes.
sort of everybody can enjoy that.
Some for everybody.
Do you know, when did tickets go on sale for that?
I believe tickets go on sale this Friday. Maybe, it might have been a little bit earlier, but I believe it's this Friday. I'm going to say this Friday. So definitely. And fun fact, if I looked at the lineup, I think Carlos Santana is the only returning member from the original Woodstock.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, 50 years later, still trucking, still making great music.
That's
so.
really awesome.
Yeah.
That's something
Absolutely.
for sure to check out.
Definitely. So next up, we have Us, the movie by Jordan Peele. It's his sophomore album. It's his follow-up from the 2017 huge success, huge box office, Get Out. So I recently just checked it out this past Friday. Phenomenal film.
I really, really want to see this. I saw several trailers for it and previews for it, and it looks awesome. I'm a big, like, horror movie, thriller, you know, super into those types of movies. I definitely want to see this. It looks amazing.
Right.
And the turnout seemed to be really big. I know
absolutely, definitely.
A ton of people who were there going, watching it, like, all week. When you went, was the theater? Oh,
it was absolutely. Even though I'm going to throw some shade at my girlfriend, she got us awful seats in the front and all the way to the left. I had to lean like this to see the movie, but it was still a good show, and I recommend all of you to see it.
That's awesome. Yes, I definitely want to check that out for sure. Now, our last hot topic, The Big Bang Theory, was recently named the longest-running multi-camera sitcom in America.
Bazinga!
They recently just had their 276th show.
That's incredible.
So previously, Cheers had that title.
Right.
They had 275 episodes, but Big Bang Theory came and knocked them right out of their place.
Yeah.
Definitely a great show, though. They are on their last
Absolutely.
season, 12th season,
That's crazy.
which is kind of sad. It's a really good show, super funny. It's also just great for, like, even if you're not watching it intently, it's great to have, like, on.
In the background,
yeah.
yeah.
It's like, it's a great show to watch and keep up with, but it's also a good background show, you know?
Absolutely, definitely. I
Little
might
bit of
check that
both.
season out. Now it's the last season and gotta.
Yeah, it's sure to be a big one.
Yeah, they're making history.
Going out with a bang, definitely.
Absolutely.
All right, well, that is all that we have for today.
I'm Jermaine Sullivan.
And I'm Emily Vipadova. Tune in next week. See you on the couch. That was like a little short, I think.
Yeah.